Hello fellow cinephiles, the Film Dude here, thanks for joining me today. So with the untimely death of Sam Neill, I thought I'd do a video and talk about my top 5 performances that he gave throughout his career. Sam Neill was an actor that to me just seemed to be always around. I'd seen him since I was a kid and he was in a variety of things and you just expected him to appear. And the fact he's not around anymore is so odd. It just feels like something has shifted and this actor who'd always been around will no longer be in films, which is kind of sad. But I'm glad we have a body of work that he was able to do over his 70 odd years, and we get to revisit those roles and those films and those performances that he gave. So, number 5 for me is Blackbird. This was a remake of a foreign film, and he's in it he's a lead, but he's more of a supporting role where he plays Susan Sarandon's character Lily's husband Paul, and it's really about the Lily character, Susan Sarandon's character, who ultimately has been hit with a particular diagnosis of disease and decides to take her own life. This is a smaller role for him, but what I really like about his performance here is just sort of this caring husband, a more dramatic role, and sort of like this idea of this character having a secret and only him and his wife know it and no one else does, and about how that shapes what he does in the film. I just think his performance is really great. This was a really surprising movie. I like he's a little bit like Kurt Russell in a way. He mightn't have the action, be known for the action chops that Kurt Russell is, but he has his everyman quality. And that's definitely what Kurt Russell has. And because of that, he can slip into particular roles and be very effective in them. And this is definitely one of them. He's just like a contemplative, beautiful, and at times heartbreaking character who has to go through such a roller coaster of emotions in this particular ride. And the idea of what has to transpire and how that impacts him and how his performance sort of shapes around that is just a testament to him as an actor. And it's a film that I was really impressed with and a performance that I really loved. And he just sort of shines in that as a sort of everyman in a sort of dramatic role as a supportive but tormented husband. Number 4 is The Hunt for the Wilderpeople. Now this was Taika Waititi's sort of launching pad. This was a film that he did that people started to take notice of him, and ultimately he would go on to do Thor Ragnarok. But Sam Neill is really great in this film. He sort of plays this grumpy sort of old man who him and his wife bring in this young boy, Ricky. Sam Neill's character, Heck, is a bit like he doesn't know how to take this kid and he doesn't really connect to him. But ultimately when his wife passes away, he sort of helps this kid. He finds a connection. They go on the run together. And it's a really fun performance. I really like how Sam Neill's character, he's kind of just a grumpy old man, but then you see flares of who he really is, and I like that. And he holds a lot in and expresses it through things that happen. He's very funny in it, so he gets to show off his sort of comical skills as an actor. Has really great chemistry with the sort of young up-and-comer Julian Dennison, and I really like how they work off each other in the performances that they give in the film. And I think it's a really great sort of showcase for Sam Neill to do something a little different. Have the everyman quality. He does have sort of an actiony aspect to it, and the humour that he brings to it. He's a very lovable and likeable character, even if he is a bit prickly to begin with. We get to learn more about him and see who he is, and Sam Neill brings a lot of those layers to the character that we get to see throughout the film. And this is definitely one of his performances that really sticks in my mind when I think of him. Number 3, Event Horizon. Now this is a really wild movie. It's very gory and brutal. And it was Paul W.S. Anderson's sort of early sort of film before he got on to doing the Resident Evil movies, so it's kind of interesting showcase for him. But what I really like about it is even though there is a big cast and a couple of other Australians in it, it's really focused on his character and the journey he goes on. He plays Dr. William Weir, and he sort of goes on this journey to find this spaceship that he had built and that had disappeared ultimately, and he sets off with a crew to find it. and what they find is not what they expected, and it gets really gruesome and brutal. And Sam Neill's character is kind of like this guy that slowly loses his mind and is corrupted by what they do find, this sort of alien entity sort of thing. And he starts to have an effect on the ship and all the other characters. It's definitely the darkest role I think I've seen him play. He starts out normal and interesting and really intelligent, fascinating character, and then slowly descends into kind of a madness and becomes sort of the villain of the piece. I really liked his portrayal of William Weir, and just like, he's just able to play characters you don't expect and sort of give them something that you didn't know that they really needed. And he was really good at that. And this is an example of that. And definitely something different for him. He was trying a different role here in the late 90s, and I liked that. At least he was trying to expand the roles that he had take, which a lot of them were dramatic roles, and this was the first time he really got to break free of that and do a sci-fi, and not only a sci-fi, but a sci-fi that had something to say, but got really dark as well, and I really love his performance in this one. Number 2, In the Mouth of Madness. This was one of John Carpenter's last really good films, and I really like it. Sam Neill plays a insurance investigator in a film named John Trent, and it sort of really looks at how this novelist makes claims that his ultimately book and the horrors of the book have come to life into the real world, have broken free of the constraints of the book itself and are out into the real world now. He doesn't believe it at first, his character, and he goes to investigate, and as he learns more and more, he slowly starts to lose his mind. And I really like that. I think his performance in doing that is really great, where he starts off normal and then he slowly loses his mind. And I've never seen Sam Neill really push his acting skills or play a character quite like this. Like, I know I mentioned Event Horizon, which was a lot darker and different for him, but this really pushed him in a more emotional way, where he just starts to go crazy. And even when he thinks he's breaking free of what's transpiring, he's still trapped in it. And that final look that he has when he's on the I think it's either he's watching the TV or he's on the bus and he starts to laugh, sort of a Bond villain, and I really loved that. He goes through so much in this film, and he still, like I said, still has that everyman quality. He still keeps this character grounded, even when it gets so grand and over the top, and we get to see sort of more supernatural aspects to it, and how he slowly starts to lose his mind. But that all adds to it. That all adds to his performance. That all adds to the fact that even though it's over the top, it is still grounded in a realism, in an everyman aspect of the character he's playing, but also what Sam Neill brings to that character. And it's a film that sticks out of my mind, not only for Carpenter, but especially for Sam Neill. There's a variety of other actors in it, but Sam Neill is the heart and soul of it. It's a real strong leading role, and he gets to go above and beyond anything he's done before, and I really love that. And I think his performance is just something to behold. Before I go into my number 1, my favourite sort of performance and film that he was in, there's some honourable mentions. Later in his career, last few years, he'd played a lot of villains. Peaky Blinders he was really good in. Daybreakers, I thought he was a really good sort of conflicted, dark sort of bad guy in that. Bring Him to Me was an Australian film that was done not long ago. And he plays a much more darker and disturbed character in that, and I really like that. Obviously his appearance in The Piano, obviously his performance in The Piano, and a variety of other roles he had in there that sort of stand out when I think of him. And he has 2 more films coming out this year. Even after he's passed away, we're getting The Fox, and there's another one coming out as well, which is going to be Godzilla vs. Kong, ex-Kong sort of universe, and he's going to be in that, and we'll get to see 2 more performances by him. Okay, without further ado, my number 1 performance and film that he was in is Spielberg's Jurassic Park. This film has been so cemented in my childhood. yes, there are other films that I was really drawn to as a kid, like Goonies and Indiana Jones, but this film sort of had an impact on me. We get to relive dinosaurs. We get to see the dinosaurs again, and I was at the right age to enjoy this film. I remember all the memorabilia that came with it, the video games, all of that stuff. But this film has always had it's always been important in my cinematic sort of journey. And I just absolutely love Sam Neill as Dr. Alan Grant. What a great character. He brings so much of himself to it. He's a character who is very smart and capable, and he sort of has more actiony aspects to his character in this film. He gets to do more. He takes on the T-Rex, and certain things that he does throughout it really add a lot to it, where he escapes the car crashing through the tree and he saves the kids, and the journey that he goes on, and sort of the chemistry and relationships he forms with these two kids he's trying to protect. And then you got Laura Dern, who's sort of his love interest in it, and she's a really great character, and they have a great sort of bond and relationship. And I really like the opening in the film when we first meet Alan Grant and they find the bones of a find the bones of a raptor, and he sort of starts to talk about it, and he gives his kids shit, and it sort of shows like he doesn't want anything to do with kids, but he's really excited about what's transpiring, and he's blown away by what he sees at the park itself. And that sort of sets up this idea that he gets saddled with these two kids, but he grows to like them and help them survive the park when everything goes to hell. He's such a great and wonderful, sort of grumpy, fantastic character. And he would play the character 2 more times in the series, with the third film, with Jurassic Park 3, which is kind of a fun, standalone, actiony movie for him. And then obviously Jurassic Park Dominion, where he comes back playing Alan Grant. And he said at the time when he played this character in the newest film that he finally understood the character and knew how to play him. But for me, this is the character. This is the character I enjoyed the most, the journey we go on with him, the performance, grounded, tough, smart, and a bit more emotional that you expect to see in a character like this. Like, this was a role that, you know, Harrison Ford and a few other actors were up for, but they were a little bit too much money. Kurt Russell was another one who was up for it, which I thought was interesting. But I don't think they would have brought to it what Sam Neill did. In just, it felt so different. It felt like, yes, I can give Indiana Jones and that a run for the money. I can create and craft my own interesting sort of hero through time. Like, can shape and form my own sort of hero, and he does that, and he's so good in it. And when I did hear of Sam Neill's passing, this was the first film and role that came to mind. And Spielberg said some really wonderful things about working with him. So did Laura Dern. It's just cemented in my mind as one of my favourite childhood films, but also in the performance of Alan Grant. And it is a great example of the skill of Sam Neill. He'd go on and do other things, like I said, write other things in more dramatic roles and playing bad guys. But there's just something about the Alan Grant character that I connected with, that I really liked and still love today. And I think that it's his performance here that really gives Grant the sort of layers and depth that we see in the other movies that he does play. But it's just a great example of the skill of him as an actor. And I really love this performance. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who have different perspectives and different ideas of what his favourite performances are, and I'd love to hear of those. If you have a list of what you think his top 5 favourite films are or performances, put those in the comments below. But it's definitely the film for me that stands out the most. It's definitely the performance that stands out most for me, and it's a film that I go back to regularly, partly because of his character and the journey that character goes on. It's a real loss for Australian cinema and cinema in general to lose Sam Neill. You know, like I said, he was a big staple in my life, and he'd always been around and disappeared. He'd always been around, but now he's not. And it's just, yeah, it's kind of a sad state of affairs, but at least, like I said earlier, at least we have these sort of films we get to return to and see him perform. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please subscribe down the bottom, follow me on Letterboxd and Facebook. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.